This is Jarrod Horak, and I'm back with another handicapping video this week. I covered the red carpet stakes from Del Mar for November 24th in my first video this week. In this video, I'm going to do the Grade 1 Clark from Churchill Downs for November 25th. And then for November 26th, I will be covering the Goldenrod Stakes from Churchill along with the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes. Now, the Goldenrod is a Kentucky Oaks Points race, and the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes is a Kentucky Derby Points race. Now, if you're interested in my full card analysis from Del Mar, head on over to the runawayhorse.com. You will find those full cards each day Del Mar runs on my sales page. For Thanksgiving week, they're running November 24th through 27th. And you can purchase individual full cards, weekly and weekend packages. Runawayhorse.com on my sales page. Now let's jump right into the analysis of this race that I'm going to be doing here for Friday, November 25th, 2022. It's going to be the Grade 1 $750,000 Clark Stakes for 3-year-olds and up, a mile and an eighth on the main track with a scheduled post time 5:56 p.m. Eastern Time. Proxy is number 1, 7-2 morning line. This one's pretty consistent. It's only 3 for 12, hasn't won very often. In 2021, went 0 for 4. Then in 2022, this year, 5 starts with a win, 2 seconds and 2/3. Very consistent though. Comes in the money a lot. And in the stakes ranks as well. In his last 4 stakes races, he's hit the board. Go back to the New Orleans Classic at Fairgrounds on March 26th. He ended up finishing second behind Olympiad there. The Grade 3 Ben Ali at Keeneland at this distance, he was third. The Blame Stakes at Churchill Downs at a mile and an eighth, he was second, beaten a length. Dynamic One beat him that day. And then Olympiad beat him again in the Grade 2 Stephen Foster at a mile and an eighth at Churchill on July 2nd. And he ended up finishing third there. American Revolution was second. So he's very consistent. He just doesn't win that often. So he's run twice at Churchill with 2 minor awards in his last 2 starts at this distance. And he's run 5 times at a mile and an eighth. No wins, 3 seconds and 2/3. So you can see a pattern here that he just likes hitting the board. I think he's going to save all the ground. He's got at least enough tactical speed to keep the leaders in his sights. And I think that there's a good chance that if he runs his normal race, he's probably going to finish somewhere in the top 3. And Joel Rosario, who got to know him last time, will ride back here. Number 2 is Trademark for Vicky Oliver. This one's a 3-year-old gelding. He's run 12 times and he's won 3 times and he finished second once. Now 2 of his 3 lifetime victories were at Churchill Downs and then 1 at this distance as well. And at this distance, that victory was at Keeneland last time at that mile and an eighth optional claiming race where he rode from off the pace. He won by almost 4 lengths at 23-1 odds. So this is a much tougher spot here. He hasn't had a lot of success in the stakes ranks and he's stepping up this 3-year-old to face older company. Number 3, Injunction should be part of the pace, and I would expect him coming off of that decent effort last time out in the ACAC, a Grade 3 at Churchill in a 1-turn mile, to probably maintain form and run a decent race here. And he does handle the distance. He's 1 for 1 at this distance. He won a race at Churchill Downs at a mile and an eighth on June 5th, optional claiming race from post 11. He tracked the pace and he won by a neck. Since then, he won a little stakes race at Ellis Park at 1 mile. He battled on the pace all the way around and he beat some horses that were in this race, West Willpower and Last Samurai. So that was a good effort there, dueling throughout as the 2-1 favorite and holding on by a head. And that was prior to that good effort in the ACAC last time. Now, Rafael Bejarano was aboard for that victory in that little stakes victory at Ellis Park. He was also aboard in that optional claiming win at a mile and an eighth at Churchill. And then he also booted it home in his maiden win that was last fall at Keeneland at 7 furlongs. So I think he can impact the pace in here. He's run 5 times at Churchill with 2 wins in 2 seconds, and he's one that I think you can use him somewhere in there. He's 6-1, and he looks like he could end up doing something in this spot. Rich Strike is your 2-1 morning line favorite, and he definitely likes this track. He broke his maiden by open lengths at Churchill Downs. His second start at Churchill Downs was the Kentucky Derby. He was 80-1. He got in from the also eligible list and from post 20 in a 20-horse field. There was a pace meltdown, and he was the best closer that day. He got a good closing ride. Sonny Leone gave him an excellent ride, and he won by 3/4 of a length. Now, he hasn't won since then. He was 6th, beaten 13 lengths in the Belmont Stakes. In the Travers Stakes, he was 4th, beaten 5 lengths. In the Lucas Classic, Hot Rod Charlie edged him by a head. That one was at Churchill Downs. And then at Keeneland last time in the Breeders' Cup Classic, nobody could run with Flightline, and he ended up finishing 4th in that 8-horse field. Now, the number one concern with him is his lack of speed. He just doesn't have any speed, and he usually leaves himself with too much to do. But when he does get a setup like he did in the Kentucky Derby, he can make you pay. And Churchill Downs is clearly the track that he does his best work. 3 starts with 2 wins and a second, and that second was second by a head. So if you take away his Churchill Downs form, he doesn't have good form at all. But he loves Churchill, and he's run 2 times at this distance with a second and a third place finish. Fulsome is the next one. This one's for Brad Cox, and he likes to run from off the pace. He's won a couple times at Churchill Downs. He's won 5 stakes races in his career. 4 of those were grade 3 races, and he's won at this distance as well. Now, he was second behind West Willpower last time out, beaten almost 7 lengths in that Fayette. West Willpower controlled the pace. This one rallied from off the pace. Decent effort. Typically, he runs a good race. He's run 16 times with 8 wins, 2 seconds, and a third. So he likes to win races. He's a decent closer. He doesn't have to come from nowhere. Third start after the layoff, I think he can do something in this spot. The next one is Last Samurai, and he's one that will probably end up stalking the pace for trainer D. Wayne Lucas. Tyler Gaffalione will ride. He's 4 for 19 with 3 seconds and 4 thirds. He's banked over $1 million in his career. He's won at this course and distance before. He was third in the Fayette, beaten almost 7 lengths. He was chasing the pace. He just couldn't keep up, and he was outfinished for the place by Fulsome. So this is one. Second start after the layoff. You have to go back to the Oaklawn Handicap. That was in April, and he won that one nicely to find his last win. Where he was up on the pace, then he backed off, and then he came again, and he was able to win by more than 4 lengths. That was his best career effort, and he's going to have to run that kind of race if he expects to make an impact in this race. Number 7, West Willpower for trainer Brad Cox. This one is the now horse in here for sure. He's very consistent as well. 12 career starts, 5 wins in 5 seconds. He's banked more than $500,000, and he's definitely on the upswing. He moved to the Brad Cox barn this year, and he's only run 3 times, and he ran well each time. His first start after a long layoff was that little stakes race I mentioned at Ellis Park, where Injunction won that one. But that was his first start since September of 2021. That race was August of 2022. So that long layoff, he ran a good race there, and he was able to outfinish Last Samurai for the place. And then in his next start, Churchill Downs at 1 1/8 in an optional claiming race, he got out there, he set the pace, he controlled the tempo, and he won by a bit less than 3 lengths. Last time out in the Fayette, that was at grade 2 at Keeneland at 1 1/8. He got out there, he controlled the tempo, and he was able to easily wire the field. And this time, he may not be able to control the tempo. With Injunction in there, he could end up challenging him, but he doesn't need the lead. Prior to this year, and even his first start this year, he stalked the pace in that stakes race at Ellis Park. He was stalking the pace and winning an optional claiming race at Keeneland, April of 2021, and he was comfortable stalking many times. So from the outside post, his new rider, Luis Saez, who was aboard, he rode him last year in that Parks Dirt Mile. He finished 6 by 13 lengths, but he's probably thinking that he would like to have the lead if he could get it, because that's exactly what he did in his last 2 starts. But he did break from the rail in his last 2 starts, and now he's going to break from the outside post. But Luis Saez should have options. If he decides he wants to go to the lead and nobody else wants it, maybe he'll go and try to set the pace. But if Injunction with Rafael Bejarano is intent on the lead, I would expect that maybe he's going to be just trying to sit off of that one. So the pace scenario is interesting in here. There's a chance that we won't see too much speed. I don't see a ton of speed. I see Last Samurai with maybe some tactical speed, but I see West Willpower up there early, and I definitely see Injunction up there early, and I don't really see any other horses that like to be up on the pace. So that's the way it looks, and it could be, if it plays out where they just have a moderate pace scenario, closers like Rich Strike could be in trouble. Overall, I'm going to try to beat Rich Strike on the win end. He's only won 1 of his last 10 races, and that win was when it was a complete pace meltdown in the Kentucky Derby, and he was 80-1. He had lost multiple races before that, and then he lost 5 straight before that, and then he's lost 4 in a row since then. So he's one that I just don't trust that the race is going to set up for him, and everything has to go right. And I respect him from a speed figure standpoint, but I just don't know that I want to play him at 2-1 odds. So my top choice in here is going to be West Willpower. I just think he has all the advantages from that outside post, and the way that the race flow looks. He can either get out there and set the pace, or he's just going to sit just off the front runner and try to pounce and get first run. So he's one that's very sharp. His speed ratings are very good. He's been in excellent form since Brad Cox took over. And I also like that it's late in the year and he's only run 3 times, where you have horses like Rich Strike. They've been dancing all the dances and running all year. So West Willpower will be my top choice in this race. And this is how I'm going to play this race. And I'm going to put my wagering strategies up now. I'll make a win wager on number 7, West Willpower. I'm going to play an exacta with West Willpower and Fulsome on top, and then I'll throw Proxy in second. So that's a exacta 5-7 with the 1-5-7. A trifecta, I'm going to put 3 horses on top: Injunction, West Willpower, and Fulsome. And then I'm going to also include some horses underneath, like Rich Strike and Proxy. So that trifecta will look like 3-5-7 with 1-4-5 with 1-4-5, and then a superfecta. I'm going to put the 5 and 7 on top, West Willpower and Fulsome. Then I'm going to use the 3, 4, 5, and 7 in second. I'm going to key the 1 Proxy, who likes to hit the board, in third. And then I'll put the 3, 4, 5, and 7 in fourth. So those are my 4 wagering strategies for this race. West Willpower, my top choice. Fulsome, my second choice. Proxy will be my third choice. And then Rich Strike and Injunction I will be using as well, as I said, in my wagers. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you like this content. And that will wrap up this video. Again, I'll be back with the Goldenrod Stakes for Saturday, November 26th, and the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes. So they will be my next 2 videos. So stay tuned to my YouTube channel when I post those later this week. And until I see you next time, good luck at the races.